So, hello then, welcome back to another Night of the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing the Take That musical movie, Greatest Days. But before I do that, I should say what's at the start of every podcast I do, that if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello there to my viewers, but you prefer to listen to podcasts, well, you can read this one as well, and Nice the Movies on Spotify. And if you are already listening to Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually on my YouTube channel and Night the Movies on that platform too. Likewise, wherever you may be watching or listening to the podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe if you enjoy the podcast, of course, and leave me some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there's always things to improve on and feedback is much appreciated. Also, people who've been following my channel recently know what I'm going to say here. It is the ongoing saga of hay fever. Yes, I first spoke my problems with hay fever a couple of podcasts ago, and my troubles with hay fever have continued. Although it hasn't been that bad today, I have been sneezing throughout the day still and sniffling. So if I'm sniffling throughout this podcast, I do apologise. If I sound a bit bummed up in this podcast, I apologise as well. And I'm feeling a bit under the weather because that is what hay fever does to you. But other than that, it should be a great podcast to listen to and or watch. So let's get into it. Greatest Days. So this is a film adaptation of the Take That jukebox musical based on the same name, and in this film we follow a group of girls who are all obsessed with this boy band called The Band. And when it's revealed that this boy band is reuniting 25 years later, the main character in the film, played by Aisling B, wants to get her friendship group back together to watch the reunion. You know, she wants some tickets to watch reunion, and she wants to go there with her friends because they were all huge fans of this boy band growing up. But they haven't spoken in years, and when they do get back together, it's revealed why they lost touch in the first place. Well, it's revealed a little later on in the movie, but it's revealed why they lost touch in the first place. And then at the same time, the Take That music brings them back together, though. And that's my plot synopsis of this film, because, I mean, this movie is so bad. It's dreadful. It's silly. It's way too over the top. And at times, it feels like it's turning into this year's Mamma Mia. You know, Mamma Mia, the first Mamma Mia film, not the second Mamma Mia movie, which was absolutely atrocious, but the first Mamma Mia film came out in 2008, and that movie was so stupid and so silly and just terrible. It's a terrible movie, but I enjoyed watching it. And much like the first Mamma Mia film, I enjoyed watching this one as well. I mean, it's a bad movie. It's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. It is a bad film. But I also enjoyed watching it, and it's now my guilty pleasure because I did have fun watching it. The musical sequences didn't really work, they didn't really hold together, but, you know, Take That music's alright. I mean, it's not my style of music. If you can't tell already, you know, if you watch it on YouTube, I've got an Elton John t-shirt on because he's one of my favourite artists. I have an Abbey Road poster back there. I don't know if you can see it, maybe the chair's covering it, but if you get the point, you know, I listen to more Elton John, the Beatles, Queen, Bowie every now and then, and there's one band I'm listening to quite a lot right now, which I just forgot off the top of my head. It'll come to me in a sec, but yeah, you get the point I'm making. You know, this isn't usually my style of music. I don't listen to a lot of Take That, but hearing the music in the film brought a smile to my face, and it's got a good beating heart, this movie. And it's one of those feel-good films that doesn't really make sense and has a load of problems, but you can't help but smile whilst it's on. At least I couldn't. And I could completely understand why someone watches a film and take a huge disliking to it and get unengaged every single time a song is performed in the film, and just really hate it. I can completely understand why some people would. And I did not love it whatsoever. There were some problems in the movie which were so glaringly obvious, and plot holes which you can drive a bus through, and by the end of the movie I was laughing out loud, and not intentionally, but I had a good time with this film. I had a good time with it, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I do think... I do know why, really. I mean, I'm saying I don't know why, but I do know why. One of the things I really liked about this movie, and this is not me being sarcastic or anything, one of the things I actually like about this film is that it's about friendship. It's about friendship during hard times, and about sisterhood. And it's from the same writer as Calendar Girls, from what I've heard and from the way it's advertised on the poster. It is from the writer of Calendar Girls, and I watched Calendar Girls for the first time about a couple of days ago now, 3 or 4 days ago I think it was. Don't know why that's relevant whatsoever, but I watched Calendar Girls for the first time quite a few days ago now. And that movie also had the same themes about sisterhood and these friendship bonds that tie us together and get us through these really tough times. You know, that's what Calendar Girls is all built around. The reason they do the nude calendar in Calendar Girls is because one of the women in that film has this partner who dies from cancer, and the reason they do the calendar is to raise money for cancer. It's something like that, to raise money for cancer awareness, should I say. And that's one of the reasons that film worked for me. And in this movie, I'm not going to say what the tragedy is in case you haven't seen it. And, you know, I don't want to give away spoilers because it's one of those movies. But, you know, yeah, I don't want to give away spoilers. But the reason, there's a tragedy behind this movie. And that tragedy is the reason that the friendship group that we follow breaks up. But it's also the reason that they come back together. If you watch the film, you'll know what I mean. And that's one of the reasons I liked it. It's about friendship during hard times. And, you know, I've been through some difficult times myself, and my friends have always got me through. So, yeah, I found that quite relatable, and I really liked that in the film. And it is funny as well. You know, you've got Aisling B in the lead role, and she is a comedian, and she's a very funny comedian, and so when she is on screen, she's fun to watch, and you can tell she's invested into the movie just through her performance, and she's also funny as well because that's who she is. And her partner in the film, the person who plays her partner, is the same person who played Mr. Poppy in the Nativity movies. And even so, those films got increasingly worse as they went on. I always enjoyed him in those movies. He was always a bit too silly, but it fit the context of those films, even though the films, you know, didn't get so good later on. But he's in the film, and he is funny to watch as well. And their chemistry worked really well, and I enjoyed the chemistry of the younger cast of girls and the older cast of girls, although it's not the older cast of girls, well, it's the cast of women. You know, you basically, this group that you follow in the film, you see them when they're young and you see them when they're older. And when they were younger, I was really, really enjoying the film. But then when they were older, it didn't feel the chemistry actually was quite there. So I take what I just said back. I didn't feel the chemistry was quite there with the older female cast in the film, yet the younger female cast, the chemistry is there, and you really feel like they all know each other and they're all great friends. And that's one of the reasons I got into this movie as well. I did get into it a little bit. I don't know why, but I got into it. I think that's one of the reasons, you know. And I got a bit invested in this film as well because I really liked the younger cast. I found them really fun to watch. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, it's going to be great when they get to the older cast because there's going to be so much more chemistry. And it's going to be so much fun watching them when they're all older and reunited and everything. And there are some good moments with the older cast, you know, the older female characters when they reunite, when the friendship group reunites 25 years or however long it's been down the line. There's some good moments there, but the chemistry just wasn't as good as when the girls were younger. So yeah, there's some good moments with the older cast, but it's just, yeah, it's not quite as good as it is with the younger cast, which was a bit of a shame. And, I mean, the film, as I mentioned, is dreadful. And, you know, it does have some really, really poor filmmaking in there. Some obvious overdubbing in lines of dialogue. Some really bad lip syncing in musical numbers. Direction which is really weird at times. Like, the directing doesn't really hold together, and you're sitting there, and it's so absurd at times as well, because they randomly throw these songs in, these famous Take That songs, they randomly throw them in into certain sequences. Like there's one moment, there's one moment in the film where Aisling B's character just starts singing The Flood. And I'm like, what? Why are you singing that? It's got nothing to do with this scene. And it has all these problems. And believe me when I'm saying here and I say it's not a good film. It is not a good movie. But I enjoyed it. And for the life of me, I am going all over my mind right now, trying to figure out why, because, God, it was something to watch. It really was. I was not planning to watch this movie, but I had a bit of free time, and I thought, you know what, let's go and check it out. And I was sitting there, and by the end, I was laughing my head off because of just how absurd and over the top it was. I mean, the ending ends in this big finale, and it was so over the top, and it was like the director and the writers just went, everything you saw early in the movie and everything that was mentioned, previously in this film so far, well, it's all here, it's all back. You just look at it, look how grand this finale is. Oh, what dancing is all over the top. Oh, look how well choreographed. Oh, look, everybody's here. Oh, we're all smiling. It's like, what is this? And I just started laughing my head off because of how absurd it was. But I was also enjoying it. I mean, maybe not for the right reasons, but I was enjoying it, though. And, if a film's enjoyable, then I think it's doing something right. Probably, I don't know if it was doing the thing that it wanted to do, but it was doing the thing that I was enjoying it for, if you get what I mean. And yeah, there were some alright moments, and there were some moments which are really bad, but they're still fun to watch, and it's not a good film, but I enjoyed parts of it. Right, so this is an add-on. I keep doing add-ons for my podcast recently, and I shouldn't, but one thing I forgot to mention when I was doing this podcast, and one thing I really want to mention, is that one thing I liked about the film is that it's a British musical that doesn't glorify England, though. I've seen British musicals in the past that try and glorify England. There's this sunny British place, where it's always sunny, and everyone's always smiling, and in this film, well, everyone's smiling still, but the ground is wet. I love the fact that the ground was wet in this film whenever they were in exterior locations. It's just a little detail, but I like the fact that they didn't glorify England in this movie. But anyway, back to the podcast. And, as for the Take That music, the way it's incorporated into the story is ridiculous and at times laughable, but I enjoy their songs. I mean, I only really know 6 of their songs. Let's count them off the top of my head right now. The Flood, I know that. I knew that before watching the movie. Shine, knew that before watching the movie. These Days, Rule the World. I remember I had to sing that back in school. God, that was a long time ago. Greatest Days, which is obviously the name of this film, and Never Forget. I didn't never forget you. Never forget where you're coming from. I can't sing to save my life. But I know 6 of their songs. Show you how interested I was in Take That. But I enjoyed their music. And, a couple of their songs in this film I never heard of before, but were kind of catchy. In the same way ABBA songs were in Mamma Mia. I'm not a big fan of ABBA either. But it's one of those, Take That and ABBA are those sort of bands where if they're on the radio, I enjoy listening to them. I'm not going to really play them myself on Spotify. That's a lie. I've listened to Take That quite recently, actually. I was listening to Shine the other day, and I listened to ABBA the other day, so that I just completely lied there. But, these bands aren't bands that I wouldn't, that would go my, they're not my favourite bands, is what I'm trying to say. They're not my favourite bands. But they have songs which are earworms, and that's why the songs work in this film, because they're earworms, and they're songs which are fun to listen to and have some, good beats going on in them. And yeah, I think the music worked. The musical numbers are very ropey at times, and I don't know, they didn't fully work for me, but I never really felt bored watching this film. I mean, there were a couple of times in the movie where I verbally eye-rolled, and there were a couple of times in the film where I would literally be sitting there gobsmacked, like, what? I don't understand this. Why is this going on? And it's so absurd, and it doesn't really work, but it's my new guilty pleasure. It's my new guilty pleasure, as I've titled this podcast. It's my new guilty pleasure because I will probably watch this film again if I'm in a bad mood, because it'll just make me smile. I know it'll give me, it'll give me a laugh. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make fun of the film or anything like that. I mean, not really, because clearly a lot of people put effort into this film, and the people making this movie, the people behind this film, clearly were investing in what they were making and were happy with it making, and you can tell it was made with a passion. I just I don't know if it fully worked for me in the right way. And one thing I almost got to say is that this film has a very fun cameo from, well, if you haven't guessed it already, but I'm going to say it now, Take That themselves. There's a fun cameo from them in the film. I'm not going to say how the cameo, because you haven't seen the movie. You can wait to see that when you watch it on a streaming service, because it is a Prime Video production, so we'll be coming to Amazon Prime probably about a month's time, or maybe 2 months' time, I don't know. But, it's a Prime Video production, so, yeah, you can wait to see them when they come in the movie. I won't say where the cameo comes in, but it's a fun cameo that I thought worked. And yeah, I liked seeing them in the film, because it was like they were saying, you know what, they were giving their blessing, you know what I mean? They were giving their blessing, saying, you know what, we're happy with this movie. Don't know why it would be, but at the same time, I say that, but I can't explain it. I was entertained by it. It's full of joy. It's full of heart. It does really have a good heart in this film that I'm not really going to get into in too much detail, because it'd be giving away a huge plot spoiler, but I mean, in the end, it's only this movie, but still, I don't want to give away spoilers. I'm one of those people. I don't like giving away spoilers before people watch a film. In case you haven't seen this yet, I'm not going to give away a spoiler. A big spoiler happens in this movie. But yeah, it's got a good heart in the friendship group and the friendship dynamic. Not going to get into too much details there, but it's got a really good heart, a beating heart at that. And it's got music which is fun to listen to and makes you smile. The actors in the film are clearly having a lot of fun. Well, I think they are anyway. And the directing, you can tell that the director, I don't know who it is, but you can tell that they are trying their best. And it's got some fun moments and some moments which are absolutely ridiculous, moments where you have your head in your hands, moments where you just be squirming in your seat because of how stupid and silly and over the top it is. But it's fun. I had fun with it. And like I said before, it's my new guilty pleasure. The first Mamma Mia film, not the second Mamma Mia film, Mamma Mia Here We Go Again, which is just atrocious and so disappointing. But the first Mamma Mia film from 2008, I don't care what anyone says. That movie is bad, but I love it. It was my number one guilty pleasure leading up to this film. This movie now is probably my number 2 guilty pleasure. I feel like I shouldn't like this movie as much as I do, but I like it quite a lot, but not for the right reasons. I don't know. I like this movie. It's entertaining. I don't like it quite a lot. What was I even saying? No, I don't like it quite a lot, but I like this movie. It's entertaining, but I feel like I shouldn't like this film. And the reason I do is because it's got a good heart at the centre of it, and this whole theme of sisterhood and friendship during hard times, which I really liked. That's one of the things I generally really enjoyed in the film. And also, it's a bad habit that I'm getting into the moment in, and also, but at the same time, it's got joy in there, and it doesn't work, but I enjoyed it. Hopefully you understand what I mean. Not sure if I make myself totally clear, but in the end, I liked Greatest Days. I did, and I'm glad I saw it, because it's one of those films I don't think I can unsee anytime soon. And yeah, I thought it was a dreadful movie that was really enjoyable to watch. And so, I'm going to say that Greatest Days, I'm going to say it's a 6 out of 10. Giving it that rating because it doesn't work on so many levels. And the finale, the big grand finale of the film, was so over the top and absurd. And I would say that, I go, really? Okay, we're doing this. Oh, remember him from earlier in the film? Remember them from earlier in the film? Remember I mentioned those characters? Well, they're all here now. That's what it felt like at the end. And it was, yeah, I don't know if it needs to be as over the top as it was. But, it reminded me of the first Mamma Mia film, and I enjoyed that film. And both films actually have weddings in their third acts. Now, the more I think about it, mean, that's a bit of a spoiler for this movie, but oh well, it's only this film. It's not even a big spoiler that you can see where it's coming. It's predictable. This film is very predictable, but that's the least of its issues. But yes, both this film and the first Mamma Mia movie end, well, they don't end in weddings, but they have weddings in their third acts. And so, yeah, there's some similarities between both, and also they're both jukebox musicals. You know, Mamma Mia is based on the songs of ABBA, and this movie is based on the songs of Take That. And weirdly enough, they don't work, but they work for me. Yeah. The film is, yeah, it's not a good movie. It's rubbish. But I enjoyed it. That's why I saw this movie. Hopefully, you understand what I mean. And it's my new guilty pleasure, as I've already said. And as I've already mentioned as well, I think that Greatest Days, overall, if I was to give a rating to this movie, as I've already done, I would say that Greatest Days is a 6 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that is it for this podcast today. If you have seen Greatest Days, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts, and let me know your thoughts on my review of this movie. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on this podcast. I look forward to many more podcasts coming very soon on this channel. Thank you as always for watching or listening, and I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.